Yeah, what's good, Joe? It's your man Bigga P, and here to share my thoughts on the fight cards from tonight. First, I'll start with the card on HBO. Now, unfortunately, um, Oscar, he was the first one to actually have this card on this particular date. But what happened was another card, which I also talk about, took its place, or I would say took its place, also was scheduled on the same day, and the result was decreased attention on this particular card, which was unfortunate because it was actually a good card on paper. Um, but yes, the card I'm talking about is the Miguel Cotto versus Yoshihiro Kamegai card for the vacant WBO 154 title. Now, before that came on, we also had an entertaining 122 title fight between Ray Vargas and Ronnie Rios, and that fight was damn good. I'm talking about excellent. Vargas, I mean, frankly, how he makes 122 with his weight, with his height, is and his size is beyond me. But it was a great fight. It was wonderful infighting, body punching. I thought the scores were a lot wider than it should have been. I thought it was a lot closer. I think I had the fight 115, 113 for Vargas. I thought it was that close a fight, or you could even make it even 116, 112. But I didn't think it was anything larger than that. And yeah, I was highly impressed by the determination by both Rios. I mean, trying to overcome that height and the reach too. Um, yeah, it was just a great it was just great infighting, great body punching, and yeah, Vargas went on, and hopefully that maybe he will get a fight with Rigo. That's if Rigo actually ever comes back down to 122 to defend his belt. But that remains to be seen, since Rigo might be heading to a 130 fight. Um, which hasn't been announced soon. But the main event, though, Miguel Cotto versus Yoshihiro Kamegai, uh, that might actually be one of the most extraordinary cases of somebody taking some punishment that I've ever seen. Um, Pretty much the first half of the fight was just an absolute slugfest. It was a slugfest and a half. Um, I just couldn't believe Kamegai was just. I mean, most brawlers, they actually do take a step back. I mean, but that guy was like he would go in and then he was like literally just running just to get lit up by these crazy combinations. I mean, I haven't seen Cotto land these type of combinations in forever. It's been years since I've seen him land these combinations. Not probably since the first um, Margarito fight, but in that fight he actually got worn down by the pressure. But in this fight, and I was expecting the same thing because this is a 36-year-old Miguel Cotto, so I'm thinking that there's no way that he can keep up with the Japanese fighters' work rate. And Kamara can actually punch a little bit too. But in the second half, though, although Kamara kept on coming, um, his punches seemed to have lost a lot of steam, and Cotto was just landing with these sick combinations. I mean, personally, I thought the fight should have been stopped probably by the 10th round of the fight, but they let it go the distance. And surprisingly, the only thing that Kamegai actually got was like a bloody nose or whatever. And then Cotto had a small cut on his forehead. The 120, 128 score was just about, but it was a brutal 128, 120, excuse me, 120, 108 competitive score. Um, Kamegai didn't take a step back, and Cotto showed more stamina than I thought he would have to handle that type of work rate at his age. So Cotto looks like we'll probably get one more fight out of him before he heads into retirement. Now the question is, will he actually keep the belt or defend it? Even that remains to be seen. But I had to clap my hands for the effort for Kamegai. Um, it was that was just an outstanding effort and a damn good brutal main event, brutal fight overall. Which now takes us to the card I was watching I was watching on my computer. I had the UFC TV stream going. The Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor card, a card that I was not happy about. Um, I didn't really care much about the Cotto card. I mean, but at least it's the Cotto card, or at least Cotto card for the title. But this fight just seemed like all types of wrong to me. I did not think that Floyd should be. First of all, it should have been just an exhibition. I mean, they should have never counted against the man's record. Um, Second, I don't think Conor McGregor should have gotten this type of stage or this opportunity over any other boxer that's out there, especially boxers that are at 147 or 154. And also too, I was not a fan of boxers, like let's say like Badu Jack, having to take a back seat to this circus. So yeah, I was not a fan of this fight. I did not like the card. I did not like the main. Well, I can't say I didn't like the undercard. I liked the undercard on paper. The first fight was Andrew Tabiti versus Steve Cunningham. Now my thing was, I mean, I'm a big fan of Steve Cunningham. I mean, I've been a fan since I saw him back in like 2005. Him and Guillermo Jones fighting in Worcester, and he's been one of my favorite fights to watch. But even I know, I mean, at 41, I mean, the man has mileage, has crazy mileage on his body, and I mean, this is a guy who had some heavyweight fights and is now coming back down. And I was not happy to actually see him in a fight like this, where it seemed like he was going to be used as a stepping stone against Andrew Tabiti, who's an uppercomer. He's 14-0, 12 knockouts, and the fight, well, thankfully, it didn't go as brutal as I thought it could have been. I mean, Tabiti, to his credit, he boxed the clinic, and Steve just, although he looked in absolute great condition, sometimes on the outside doesn't match on the inside, and that was what Steve was. I mean, Steve pretty much, it was a little bit too slow, not as sharp as he used to be, and pretty much it just played out like it was just a dominant 10-round decision win for Tabiti. As for Steve, I mean, like I said, it's been a great career for him, and I really hope that he actually does retire. Because, like I said, he deserves more than to be a stepping stone for the cruiserweights. And, the cruiserweights right now is probably one of the more dangerous divisions. I mean, this is especially for a guy who once held two cruiserweight belts in there. I mean, it's not one of the decisions where you want to mess around with or get old in. I mean, you will get removed. So we'll see what happens. And then the next fight after that was Nathan Cleverly defending his regular version of the WNBA light heavyweight title against Badu Jack, who's making his first appearance since January when him and James DeGale fought that classic fight of the year candidate in New York, that ended in a draw for whatever reason. Fight was one-sided. 5 one-sided rounds. Badu Jack, the weight just looked like he looked like he adjusted to light heavyweight perfectly, and Cleverly did had nothing. I mean, he got busted up, and then the stoppage on the rope was just excellent. I mean, Cleverly just took every punches on. I mean, the short uppercuts and the ropes just getting blasted over and over and over again. It was a dominating performance, and I mean, Badu Jack clearly now is a player at light heavyweight at the light heavyweight title, at the light heavyweight division. And after the fight, he called out Adonis Stevenson, who, is everyone knows, is the lineal light heavyweight champion of the world and the actual ruler of the division. So it remains to be seen. It is a fight that can be made, probably in Montreal, and I would love to make another trip up to Montreal just to go catch that fight at Bell Center again. So I mean, hopefully that fight can be made probably maybe by the end of the year, or maybe into next year. Who knows? So, depending of course, if Superman actually fights his mandatories first, which unfortunately Jack is not. So, excuse me, it's late. So it remains to be seen. As for Cleverly, I mean, hey, it was a nice little resurgence he had. He actually became a light heavyweight champion again, but I don't know where he actually goes from there. I mean, he could. I mean, I guess. I mean, who knows? I mean, he might have another light heavyweight title run in him, or he may go back to cruiserweight. Who knows? But that was just as dominating as a win as I had seen from from someone taking a title from him. So, well, remains to be seen. And then the co-main event was Gervonta Davis, Tank Davis versus Francisco Fonseca. Now, unfortunately for Tank, Tank um, did not do his do enough road work because the previous day he lost his title on the scales after weighing 2 pounds over the weight limit. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of fighters missing their weights. I mean, my ideal is, I mean, if you know you're having trouble with the weight, give up the belt. Don't get in a situation where you're gonna go into the camp, you're messing around and you get there and you can't make weight. And Tank had this issue before for his first title defense where he barely made the weight. And then this time he didn't. I mean, now I know, hey, he's a grown boy or whatever, but he's 5'5". So I guess now 135 will be, will be where he'll be fighting at. Of course, the division of Mikey and Linares and Robert Easter, all those fighters. So the fight happened. Now there was a penalty. So obviously now he has to go someone who's Persta Fonseca who did make weight, and now he would be the only one who can actually win the title. And for a while it looked like that was in the way because Tank did not look good at all. I mean, he looked sloppy. I mean, you see him trying to imitate Roy Jones and everything like that. It was just a very sloppy fight. But Fonseca was actually doing his thing, and I actually had him up significantly. I didn't think Tank was all that effective. And then the knockout was not really a knockout to me. Now, there was a body shot that I saw that actually that was legal, but the shot to the back of the head, I mean, it was you can see it was clubbing right to the back of the head. That is a rabbit punch. And the ref should have called that as it was. And so that was not a knockout. So, but I would not be surprised if the commissions review that tape, review the knockout, and say, hey, the guy went down because of the guy went down because of a rabbit shot, and it was not a legal shot. So, and most likely, I could probably think that Fonseca will also be the first in line to go after the vacant title because he lost, the title's up for grabs, and most likely either the 1 and 2s of the whoever's the 1 and 2 contenders will probably go for the belt. But Fonseca should probably get another shot because it was a cheap knockout. As for Tank, like I said, he's got to go to 135, and hopefully he can actually keep his discipline there because they got some good fighters there. Got some good fighters holding some belts there. So we will see what happens. But I mean, it was not a good deal. It was not a good deal for someone like him to lose his belt on the scales like that, especially at such a young age. So yeah, I guess hopefully he'll learn from this going forward. And now the main event: Floyd Money Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Everything leading into this fight was just like, I can't believe this is really happening. Like, you see movies like The Great White Hype with Samuel L. Jackson and Damon Wayans, and you're like thinking to yourself, ha ha ha, this is just an exaggerated thing. And then all of a sudden you see this come out here. It's like, hey, we have a guy who's never fought professionally, boxed professionally before, and he's gonna step into the ring with one of the former pound for pound champion and fighter, and you're like wondering like, what the hell is this? And then of course now it came out later that Floyd has some tax issues, and this is most likely a cash grab, and I fully believe it. But But yes, I was watching, the months of watching videos of people analyzing why Conor McGregor would win, or then I talked to some of my friends who are into MMA. I'm also into MMA, but I talked to them thinking, they'll say, "Hey, Conor McGregor was so unorthodox. He'll show him something that Floyd has never seen." No, he'll show, and it's like, what is the reasoning behind that? This is the boxing ring. You can't be that unorthodox without being actually knowing how to be orthodox first, man. So it's like, when I kept hearing it, it was just like it was annoying, and then it's just like, and hell, even my own brother was telling me, he was texting the other day, he was telling me, "Oh, Conor McGregor is gonna win within 5 rounds," and if it was, I probably would have like give him a slap to the back of the head if he was near me when he said that. um, but yeah, I was not expecting the fight to be remotely competitive, and I was wrong on that aspect. Um, yeah, I mean, Connor did for a beginner did actually perform very well for a beginner. I mean, granted, he still wasn't as he was. I mean, you can see the amateur. I mean, he was out there pawing, doing all this. I mean, he showed good head movement and he actually showed good lateral movement. But when you're doing all this, I mean, he was actually pretty successful in actually keeping Floyd away for at least a couple of 3 rounds. Because I thought he did win the first 3 rounds. Just keeping him away, and because the size and his reach was something. And even catching Floyd with a very rare clean counter uppercut. I mean, that was a punch I didn't expect Conor McGregor to actually land on him. And after that, you see Floyd go to work. Like Floyd was walking him down a little bit, and then you see Conor kept on tying him up. And then there were a couple of things where you see a couple of the hammer fist, or he'd pivot to the back and it's like boom, 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 hit him in the side, and stuff like that. So the referee had to start threatening to take a point away. And then after that, it started getting to the point where it started getting to the 24, 25, which is in boxing, that's probably like, that's within round 7 and 8. 8 really. Then you see Conor decide, starting to visibly tire. But even then, I think he shot his last load, so to speak, in round 9. And I think that was a round that I actually gave to him. Which I think at the time made it like 5-4 Floyd. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a lot closer than it should be. And I'm thinking to myself, Connor's actually doing a good job of actually giving Floyd something to think about as he was walking him down. But in the 10th round, he was completely spent. He was, as the English would say, knackered. And Floyd walked him down and pretty much beat on him for like a half a minute without Connor throwing it back. I mean, now everyone, I see all the arguments on Twitter, on Facebook, they'd be like, "Hey, why didn't the referee just let Floyd finish the fight?" Well, because you have to err on the side of caution. You just saw the man catch bricks to the side to his face without throwing a significant punch back and barely being able to hold. Do you want to do that? And kind of goes to the canvas and he gets hurt, which he was definitely in a position to do. Or do you save him? Do you walk in and save him from punishment so he can fight to live another day? And the ref did make a good decision on that. I mean, personally, I would like to see him drop at least once to see if he actually get up. But like I said, you got air in the side conscious. If a guy's not throwing, he's catching shots, you got to stop the fight. So Floyd got his 50-0 record. Although it's not really 50-0 record. I mean, Cesar Chavez went damn near 80-something fights before he took his zero, before he actually took his loss. So it's not a record per se. I never saw it as one. But hey, he says, he got his 50-0, he got his knockout, and hopefully that he got his retirement. He doesn't come back out and think, hey, I still have it. As for Conor McGregor, like I said, he performed way better than I thought he actually would. And I mean, now it's a situation is now because MMA probably will not be able to contain him because, like I said, the guy probably made like $30 to $100 million depending on what number you want to believe, but he made a very significant amount of money tonight. So I mean, after chilling, I mean, the guy can probably come back and say if he goes to MMA, I mean, pretty much they can't lowball him anymore. And most likely also too, you can also probably, I mean, and then top of that, you probably have people who box who want to face him. Like for instance, like Paulie Malignaggi, which is their infamous feud during the sparring session. You could probably see him actually wanting, probably see that fight trying to take place. Um, like I say, if I mean Conor is still young enough where he could probably if he could maybe he might become something decent. I mean, they'd have to start putting him with some lower level fighters. I'll talk about lower level and get him a conditioning coach, and being able to convert over to actually boxing professionally, get the MMA stuff out of him. But he didn't do that bad, but he was very clearly much the amateur, very much the amateur tonight. Um, but I guess for most people from the first wave of reviews I'm reading is like oh, this is the most exciting Floyd fight I've seen in a while. Blah blah this, and yes, it was like I said because Floyd had an opponent where he was able to quote Conor was able to turn into a Mexican and engage him without too much fear of strong offensive attack. So that's what happened. I mean, it was a spectacle, but it was an entertaining spectacle to say the least. Um, so I'm wondering what type of chain reaction this is going to set off. I mean, I know we have someone like Nate Diaz or whatever. If they're going to want to. I mean, I know in the past I think he was the one who tried to go after Jeff Lacey in a fight in a boxing match. So we'll actually see how this goes in terms of all these crossover fights between crossover boxing fights between MMA and boxing, or vice versa. Boxing will go into the octagon, which would even be more interesting, like James Toney and Randy Couture. But like I said, we'll see. So yeah, those are my thoughts on those two cards, and like I said, overall was an entertaining night. So it was an entertaining night of boxing, and we got Labor Day coming up. So until the Superfly card for sure, I'll have something to say because I can't wait for that. So yep, until then, peace.